All right, so now we're going to have to walk down the slippery slope a little bit. So Harris is drawing some lines for us, some ethical boundaries. First boundary has to do with the availability of gene therapy that allows us to raise someone out of a level of dysfunction and disability into that normal range of human health. And Harris draws a line and says, if you have the ability to use gene therapy to elevate somebody out of a state of dysfunction or disability into the normal range of human health, and you don't do that, you're harming them. And because you're harming them, you're doing something that's unethical. The second ethical line that Harris draws has to do not with using gene therapy to bring somebody from a state of dysfunction or disability into that normal range of human health, but to enhance someone's genes who is in that normal range of health in such a way that provides them additional protections against possible future dysfunctions. And again, Harris says, I think you might be ethically obligated to do that, because this isn't really that much different than what you're doing when you vaccinate your child. When you vaccinate your child, you're not curing any dysfunction that they're currently suffering from, and you don't know for certain that they are going to encounter the disease that you're vaccinating them against, but you're providing a level of protection in case they do, in case down the road they do. And so Harris has said, so not only gene therapy for curing dysfunction, but maybe gene enhancement for preventing future dysfunction are also ethically obligated. And now there's a third line. And Harris says, well, all right, so if you're ethically permitted and maybe ethically obligated to enhance your child's genes in order to provide those future protections, then should you be permitted, are you morally permitted to enhance your child's genes in a way that raises them way above that normal range of human health? So you think about this guy here, the mountain, right? He was on Game of Thrones. And here he is sitting with his wife having a cup of hot chocolate. And look at the size of these cups in relation to their hands, right? They're the same size cup. But you can see, like, this guy's a genetic oddity. He is way out there on the range of normal human health, way above it. Well, if we had the ability to provide our child with superior intelligence, superior physicality, superior athleticism, and we didn't give them those enhancements, and so they therefore never developed those abilities to the degree that they could have, are we causing them harm? So in other words, where do we draw the line where uses of gene therapy are morally obligatory, morally permitted, and morally off limits, morally prohibited? This is not allowed. Okay, and what Harris says is, look, your concern here is going to be this, that when you genetically enhance physical and mental traits, it's going to give some people an unfair advantage over others with respect to competitive goods like beauty, sociability, and intelligence. And what's key here is this phrase, unfair advantage, because we recognize that all different kinds of people have all kinds of advantages and disadvantages that we all contend with in life. And what Harris is saying is that what makes this kind of genetic enhancement cross an ethical boundary is that the advantage here is unearned, right? That when we manipulate our child's genes to give them these kinds of extraordinary advantages over others, then they're getting an advantage that they didn't earn. And this is likely going to be an advantage that disproportionately is taken advantage of by those who have the access to this technology and the means to it. In other words, wealthy people in industrialized countries are going to be the ones who are genetically manipulating their children to create these kind of superhumans. And Harris seems to imply like this may now be crossing an ethical boundary. But it's not really that clear. What we would have to do is we would have to establish that there's something fundamentally different about attaining these kinds of exceptional states of human health that through gene therapy that's different morally, ethically, than attaining them through other means. So what I mean by that is this, is that beautiful parents typically are more likely to have beautiful children than fugly parents, right? And really athletic and physically superior parents are probably more likely to produce children who have those same attributes or similar attributes. Same thing with high IQ. Parents with high IQs are probably more likely to produce children with high IQs. And that's not to say there aren't exceptions in all of these areas. There are. It's just to say that whenever two people come together to create a child, they're not creating that child from scratch. They're creating that child from the genetic features that they have, that they then share with this child. And that child is going to have advantages or disadvantages based on that genetic inheritance that the child didn't earn. Okay, so the question then is this: well, what is it if getting these kinds of advantages through gene therapy is somehow qualitatively different than getting them through the natural genetic inheritance? What's the difference that would allow us to say that this practice is morally prohibited while the others may actually be morally obligatory?